So yeah, we are both from the same college, IIT Madras. He is 1 year senior to me.
Did you get a chance to rag him?
I wish I had gotten there.
I have not seen any MFD who has a IT background. Why? You didn't have a job or something? So how did you become an MFD when the entire crowd was moving towards disintermediation?
We felt we could do something very interesting here, and that can potentially become big over a period of time. When you start a business like that, eventually at some point, revenue becomes critical.
नमस्ते, मैं हूं आशीष और स्वागत है आपका द MFD स्पॉटलाइट शो में। ये एक ऐसा शो है जहां पे हम म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स की कहानियों को रोशनी में लाएंगे। हर MFD की अपनी जर्नी होती है, उनकी स्ट्रगल्स और उनकी सक्सेस। यहाँ हम केवल बिजनेस की बात ही नहीं करेंगे, बल्कि उनका सफ़र उन्हीं से समझेंगे। ये कहानियाँ सिर्फ इंस्पायर करने के लिए नहीं हैं, ये कहानियाँ हैं एक ब्लूप्रिंट बनाने के लिए जो हर MFD के काम आएंगी। तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं द MFD स्पॉटलाइट का पहला एपिसोड। आज हमारे साथ हैं AssetPlus के ओरिजिनल MFDs। इनकी कहानी काफ़ी यूनिक है। इन्होंने इंडिया के बेस्ट कॉलेज से पढ़ाई करी, उसके थोड़े समय तक नौकरी करी और उसके बाद में MFDs बन गए। और कहानी यहाँ नहीं रुकी। MFD बनने के कुछ ही समय बाद इन्होंने एक बहुत बड़ा डिसीजन लिया। इन्वेस्टर से आगे बढ़ के MFDs को सपोर्ट करना चालू कर दिया। So today I am super excited to welcome the original MFDs and founders of AssetPlus, Vishranth and Awanish. Welcome to the show. So the point is that I am not going to make this conversation easy for you. It's going to be very uncomfortable. I hope you don't mind. So let's start from the start. How did you guys got connected? When was the first time you met each other? And then what did you do before you started AssetPlus?
So yeah, we are both from the same college, IIT Madras. But a lot of people think that we were batchmates in college, but that's not true actually. He is 1 year senior to me. How we met was we both used to work at the same startup called Hyperverge. And I used to do tech over there and he was part of the business team. And during the final year of college, I was doing like a year-long internship with them. And I was in Bangalore a lot. And during that time, Vishranth and I were roommates in PG. And that's where we kind of got close. We used to talk about tech and finance and business and everything. And that was pretty much how we kind of, initially got connected and started.
So Vishant, he was your junior. Did you get a chance to rag him in college?
Oh, not at all. I wish I had gotten the chance. But ironically, although we were from the same college and our hostels were right opposite each other, we never met in college at all. So around the time of graduation, I decided to join Hyperverge. And when I joined is where I got to know Awanish was there and he's an Android developer. So our friendship started from the Hyperverge times. And last year of college, he was there full year, and I had graduated by then. I had moved to Bangalore. So within the office, we had a lot of communication. Outside of office, we stayed together in the same PG. We were roommates. So that's when the real friendship started for us. Yeah. So to answer your question, no ragging happened in our case.
So Avnish, how long was the internship in Hyperverge?
So I think it went almost for 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah. So in college, I used to do a lot of internships, like during semester, after semester, all the time. And in my fourth year, when it was just beginning, one of my classmates was already at Hyperverge. And they were looking for an Android developer to build out some of their apps initially. So that's how I got connected with them. And I used to pretty much spend, let's say, morning half in college, night the whole time in the Hyperverge office, sleeping over there, etc. So yeah, so almost 2 years it went on. And just until graduation, I was interning with Hyperverge. And immediately after graduation, started AssetPlus.
Oh, and what about you, Vishant? How long were you there in Hyperverge?
My stint with Hyperverge largely started after graduation. So 2015 June is when I completed. So both of us had a 5-year course, BTech plus MTech, mechanical engineering for me, electrical engineering for him. So 2015 I graduated, and for about a year I was with Hyperverge and mostly in Bangalore. And that's where we interacted, had a lot of discussions. And 2016 June is when we came out and were discussing to incorporate the company. So mid-August of 2016 is when formally we incorporated AssetPlus.
Wonderful. Now this is where I have a question, and I'm going to ask this to you, Avnish, first. I have not seen any MFD in my decently long career who has a IT background, right? So people would maybe join a bank or maybe join an institution, but nobody has become an MFD. So I'm sure this is probably are the first people who I'm seeing after graduating from IT become MFDs. Why? What happened? You didn't had a job or something?
Actually, coincidentally, I didn't set for placements. He had a pre-placement offer. But I think for both of us, the story up until the point where we started AssetPlus is slightly different. I think Vishranth can tell about his like mutual funds experience background. For me, it was kind of a revelation, and that's when I jumped into this. Maybe you can start off first.
So in my case, I had some good fortune of having been a mini entrepreneur in college itself, because I was a private tutor. I used to teach students about mathematics for IIT JEE and CBSE, starting from my second year itself. So that, plus having worked in a startup, I had done a lot of internships in startups. It became very clear to me that I would like to do something on my own. So I was not particularly looking at a corporate 9-to-5 job of sorts. So Hyper was also what excited me. Was it was a batch of folks who I had already known quite well from college who started out. So the learning experience of, okay, how do we build a business from ground up? What happens in early stage of a startup? These were very good learnings I had. But it was always on my mind that at some point we'll have to start something of my own. That was on the entrepreneurship side. And mutual funds, how it started is, as I was a tutor, I had my earnings starting to come in. After spending it for a couple of months, eventually decided to invest it somewhere. And that's where I got introduced to a mutual fund distributor back then, started my SIPs. So this kind of was a very intriguing space for me. Okay, equity markets, how do they function? What are mutual funds and so on? So I dug quite a bit deeper into it. So by the time I graduated, I was fairly aware of not just mutual funds, but personal finance as a subject was very interesting to me. So entrepreneurship from one side, interest in personal finance and mutual funds on the other. That both of them converged, and that's what led me to believe, okay, I should do something in this particular space as an entrepreneur.
At that point in time, you're talking about 2016, 2017, there were a lot of companies who were getting into mutual fund distribution, but largely they were DIY platforms. So the whole thing at that point in time was about disintermediation, that there is no requirement of an MFD. You can go to a website, answer a couple of questions, look at the schemes and just go ahead and invest. How did you become an MFD when the entire crowd was going towards disintermediation?
I would say it's a very interesting journey for us. So we were not earning anything. We didn't intend to start AssetPlus with, we want to be $1 billion company. That was not at all the intention. We liked the space and we felt we could do something very interesting here, and that can potentially become big over a period of time. So the intention with which we started was not to have a very large scale business, but let's just start and see where it goes of sorts. So when you start a business like that, eventually at some point revenue becomes critical, because if we are looking at maybe building something very large from day one, then the general approach that founders take will be, let me get some funding, so that funding is going to take care of the money supply. I don't need to earn, we don't need to look at revenue. So we had no funding. Awanish and I together, when we started out, had about 1.5 lakh to 2 lakhs of savings left. So we had to think of revenue. So in order to think of revenue, when we started approaching clients and telling them, hey, we will help you invest in mutual funds and so on, we also could see revenue comes when a customer stays invested. And for a customer to stay invested and create wealth, the necessity of an advisor to be present to actually communicate the day-to-day happenings to them, helping them understand what's the market volatility about, helping them plan their financials is very, very, very much required. So that was a defining moment for both Awanish and me. So what we could see is enabling access to mutual funds was not that big a deal, because that's a problem that's already getting solved. As you said, a lot of other entrepreneurs were solving. We felt the missing part of the puzzle is actually communicating to the investor, which will in turn not only build the trust, but conviction in the mind of the investor that, okay, I can stay invested for long term. Hence, customer will create wealth, and hence we will make revenue. So this is the thought process we used to discuss quite a bit. So we felt, okay, let's not just build a tech and give everything in the hands of customers, because obviously they're having so many questions, they can't keep talking to an app to get all the answers. We need to be present to answer their questions. So we didn't explore a DIY model right from scratch.
So like on the other side, what's happening with me is something similar. Like I think seeing a lot of entrepreneurs, startups during college days obviously enticed me into wanting to start something up. Tech was always at the core of it for me, and I used to build everything, all sorts of things. Then my learning about mutual funds actually came from Vishranth. In fact, I still remember the first conversation in college. I think we were at the Hyperverge office. we were going out for some snacks or whatever, and he was talking about finance and mutual funds and all that, and I was like, hey, what is this mutual funds and stuff, like, this is not because I come from a middle class family background who are very conservative. They like stay away from stock markets, etc. And so I was in the other camp, right? And but through his conversations, like how he explained how all this stuff works is where like it opened my mind. And then we did a bunch of calculations about like how my father's finances would have looked like if he had invested in mutual funds. So that really opened my mind. So that's how I got into it. Starting AssetPlus, as he was saying, the aim for us initially was to build a platform where people could invest in mutual funds, but tech was not the only problem to solve there, right? It was not just the accessibility to tech that was the problem. The thing that he mentioned about handholding and guidance, and in fact even today I need handholding and guidance, and there are several people who need that. So it's not because of lack of an app or a platform that I would not be investing. It's because of the handholding. So initial days, as again I was trying to build an app, but I also was starting to realize that it's just not about the app. But what happened post that is we started focusing more from an app building point of view on the advisory side of things, like on the distributor side of things, and that kind of laid the foundation for us when we started thinking about opening up the platform to external MFDs, because we were building the platform, the core parts of the platform for us as MFDs ourselves. So what kind of reports do we need to show to our end customer? What kind of features should we have so that we can guide the customer better? And we just extended that. So I think that early phase was very important for us to find the core thing that we want to go behind, even from a tech point of view.
I have one good anecdote of sorts. So I remember when we were comparing a lot of other apps that had come out, and everyone was really focused on making it super easy for customers to invest, right? So they should do their KYC, complete their transaction, set up their SIPs. That used to be how easy can we make it. Awanish and I were discussing, but what is a problem for us is helping customers tackle all the volatility, and which worked out for us as long as we are able to align their investments towards goals. So because that was a problem we faced, and we were having a brainstorming this all sorts, Awanish came up with the idea, transactions, let it be as they are, but how about maybe we introduce a goal tracking feature on the app where customers can track their goals with regard to specific investments. So they can know that, okay, their kids' education is 50% done. I need to do this much more investments to hit there. So the way in which we thought was not just to enable access via tech, but how do we actually try to solve the problem of helping the customers create wealth via tech. So a lot of features we developed seem pretty unique, not because others could not do it, but maybe others were thinking of it from a different direction.
So Avnish, you mentioned about your middle class origins. Just let our viewers know what's your family background is.
Very humble beginnings for everybody in my family. My dad actually has done a lot of struggle in his life. He was a sailor in the Indian Coast Guard, and during that time, it was not like it's a very high-paying job or anything, and so money was something that we were very careful about. But my parents did a great job in planning our expenses, planning our goals and everything, and purely via bank FDs and maybe a few real estate investments here and there. That's pretty much how I've seen the entire growth in my family. And even now, a lot of the decisions that we take, I mean, I wouldn't say that we are out of the middle class. It is a long journey, but a lot of the decisions that we take and a lot of things that we quickly jump to first, the reaction comes from that experience and that background, right? So in fact, it was funny because when I was telling my parents that I want to start up, that's already a big deal, right? They were very supportive throughout, like that I would want to clarify. They were very supportive. But then I said, okay, it's about mutual funds. Then they're already apprehensive about mutual funds. But then I said, I want to start up and I want to sell mutual funds. So that was like a huge deal for them. And I remember that conversation with my father, where I looked at what FD investments he had made over the years, right, and how long he has been investing for, like 10 years almost. Some of those FDs were, and the same had been parked in a mutual fund. See, he had that time horizon. It's not that he needed a short-term fund, etc. He had that time horizon. just if he could have some MFD, if he had met him 10 years ago and told him, sir, you can start a small investment in mutual funds, today things would be much more comfortable for him. Like, he has done the same amount of hard work in his life, so there nothing is going to change. Just that the lifestyle or the quality of life would have been better if someone had, like, exposed him to mutual funds. So that's kind of how I convinced them that this is like a good thing to start off with. And yeah, that's pretty much from my side.
So Avnish, where are you from?
So my dad grew up in Balia in Uttar Pradesh. My mom grew up in Buxar, Bihar, and that's where they kind of got married. So that's where they belong from. And because my father was in Indian Coast Guard, we used to travel around the country in all the coastal areas. So I'm not really sure where I can say I'm exactly from. My roots are in UP and Bihar, but I've been in Cochin, I've been Andaman Nicobar, Campbell Bay Islands, I've been in Kolkata, and finally in Chennai. But I think when we moved to Chennai around 2002, that's where my parents decided that, now he's kind of, going into upper, for studies, that we need to get serious. So let's stay in Chennai. Dad used to still have transfers and go around, but mom and I used to stay in Chennai. I completed my schooling there. Then coincidentally, IIT Madras also was in Chennai, and then when we started AssetPlus, that's also in Chennai. So yeah, that's the whole journey.
Vishranth, how about you?
So I am fairly based out of Tamil Nadu only from initial days. So my native is a place called Salem, which is the fifth largest city, or sometimes sixth largest. Some people say that. So I've been in Salem. A brief period in between, I did my schooling in Dubai. Then I came back to Chennai, had my IIT coaching, then continued college here itself. Although I speak Telugu because my mom is Telugu, my dad is Malayali. So I was born in Cochin, but for all practical purposes, I identify as a Tamil. And I've pretty much been in Chennai for quite some time, almost like 2 decades now. When it comes to money habits in family, I would say like a typical conservative South Indian family. So no one had any exposure to stocks or mutual funds of any kind. And not only that, if at all anyone in family did, they were also very strongly advised to never go in that direction. So it was always about fixed income, fixed deposits, post office deposits and the like. But somehow that was not too fascinating for me. But when I mentioned to parents that, okay, look, I'm planning to start something on my own and it is in this space, fortunately, they were extremely supportive. So my understanding is that until I got into IIT, they were like, we are not sure what we'll do with this guy. We'll have to take care of him. But the moment I got in, they seemed to have a sigh of relief. Okay, he can take care of himself of sort. So in some sense, I will have to agree that is a point of privilege because having a good brand and a good institution you have graduated from gives a lot of comfort level. So absolute worst case, nothing doesn't work, a job opportunity is always open. So it might not be what we really like, but backups are always available. So that gave a comfort to me as well as parents. So yeah, overall they were quite supportive for us to get started.
That's great to hear. Now let me just talk about your first year as an MFD. So what happened in first year, Avnish? What was the most difficult moments for you? What were some of the success stories? Would you like to share some?
Sure. So I think a bunch of things were happening for me parallelly. On one hand, we were setting up the company, and I was building the app, the first version of the app, which we would put out in front of our first connect, second connect, etc. While building the app, Vishranth was parallelly building the pipeline of customers who we will speak, the first connect, second connect, etc. So the initial phase was mostly me building the app and all that. Once the app went out, then things slightly changed because now customers started coming in, downloading the app, and asking about I need help with this, I need help with that. So I would handle customer chats in the morning and build the app in the night. And slowly, I also started talking to a few of the customers. I still remember my first customer that I convinced to start an investment was 100 rupees SIP, and it took 2 months of convincing.
Oh,
right?
wow.
So this was back in 2016, and that was kind of a eye-opening experience for me because when you are building on the other side, you have an impression of what the end customers will think and will ask. Right, but every customer is very different. They have had their own life journey because of which they have certain other doubts. Right, so like the specific customer, as an example, it was not much about how stock market works or how mutual funds work. His questions were more around, can I trust mutual funds? Can I trust, let's say, if I make an online payment, will it be safe? What is this auto debit? So those are the things that I had to handhold him through, right? And then only the investment journey started, and the questions change as times move. So that was the initial first year of the journey. A lot of learnings from there. In fact, I still remember that the biggest thing that would panic me every day is, the NAV is going to update at 9 p.m. in the night, and some investor who have asked him to, begin will see maybe some, dip somewhere or something anywhere, and he will start panicking, right? And I have to be prepared for that. So that used to be like the initial part for me.
After graduating from IT, having that badge of IT, did it made your life easy in first year of your MFD business, or was it just like another struggle which happens with everyone else?
So I would actually say there was a steep learning curve for me, because when I entered, I did expect that having an IIT tag will really help. But in this particular business we were in as an MFD, it did not help as much as we had expected, because someone might be thinking, okay, there is someone who is an IIT and who is an MFD. People are just waiting, okay, I want this guy to manage my money. It is absolutely not that at all. And it also did not help that both of us were freshers. So it's not that we had worked for 5-7 years, which would have meant our peers also worked for 5-7 years and their earning potential was quite high. Neither was that the case. So we really had to start from scratch. And IIT is, I would say, it added maybe like a 5%. Okay, all right, fine, some form of credibility is established, but people do not perceive that as credibility in the context of managing money or finance. So in almost all the cases, whenever that came up, the follow-up question is, but why are you here then? Did something go wrong there? That's the unexpected conversation that used to happen. So I would say it gave me a lot of comfort in terms of backups, etc., and family a lot of comforts. But for this line of business, it did not actually play a big role.
So in that case, Vishranth, what was your client acquisition strategy for first year?
So as I said, entering the business, the expectation was that, okay, there is IIT. Okay, how many calls am I going to get? Will I even have the time to manage the request? It was exact opposite. So no one called. No one cared that I'm from IIT at all. Which I see is it's okay. That's the way it is. So we had to change the acquisition strategy a bit before the launch of the app itself. So after a lot of back and forth and talking to customers, what became clear is the initial stages of the business, both from learning as well as convincing the customers, you have to have brute force. There is no two ways about it. You will have to sell. It could be you should not be too concerned about, okay, what is this? I'm not going to talk to that guy and follow up with that guy. It might be slightly shameful, but doesn't matter at all. You will have to do the hard work. At least in the initial stage, that's very, very critical. So our acquisition strategy was very straightforward. We actually still have that Google sheet. If you remember, 2016, we made a Google sheet. One of that sheet is for me, one is for Awanish. All our first and second connection names on that sheet with the relationship with us and what is the potential that they can invest in. So it was about a 50-60 member list. We just called up, pinged everyone, asked for a schedule, told them that, hey, look, we are doing this. We have gotten a certification as a mutual fund advisor and we would like to see if we can help you manage money. These are the ways in which we can help. And that pitch also getting refined the more and more we spoke. The first 5 to 10 people, the pitch was very horrible, but we learned and we kept on fine-tuning it. And at the end of that 2-3 months time period where we spoke to all of these people, I would say out of 60, maybe we had about 15 to 20 investing customers from both our sides. And then slowly referrals started coming in and we had to engage more and more with existing customers and find newer and newer ways of acquisition. But what was the important learning, which I still feel is relevant in this completely digital era today, is this is not easy. People are not waiting for, who's a guy who's going to come and manage my money. Even if they are, you will still have to convince them, hey, you are good. And what is the value that you bring to the table? So, and every business will have to go through that tough phase. And that tough phase is usually what gives the most amount of learning for the founders as well. So that's how my first 6 months was.
In a way, it is very similar to how plenty of MFDs start today also, right? Everyone starts with like first connects. In fact, in the list that he just mentioned, number 1 was his father, number 2 was my father.
Did they invest?
Yeah, of course. Right.
Please convince my father also.
But on the Excel sheets point, there was one more funny thing. When we started, we made a lot of Excel sheets, right? Google Sheets, projections and everything. But I still remember one of the mentors that we had at that point said one line, and post then I stopped talking about it, where he said, it's very easy to do business on an Excel sheet. But yeah, just something to add.
Yeah, the actual and we observed that in most cases, the people who we thought were closest to us were not the people who invested their money with us. So parents apart, parent support is always there. But because I realize one reason could be that most of the closest friends, they know us as friends and they know a lot of other things they shouldn't know about us. So when we go and tell them, hey, I want to manage your money, obviously there's a bit of apprehension and skepticism that comes in. Surprisingly, I'm not sure if that's a common trend, but in our case, the not so close friends were the ones who got convinced by the pitch, and eventually the close friends also started coming in, but it was different from what we expected in the earlier stages.
So one can't avoid the grind.
It's
Definitely,
absolutely not.
definitely not.
But the results are there for everyone to see. I mean, be it yourself or be it other mutual fund distributors who have spent first 1 year, 2 year, 3 year doing the grind, doing their day-to-day work, execution. They are the one who are now sitting at a very significant amount of business. So Vishranth, let's imagine it is 2016. What are those things which you will not do, which you have done at that point in time?
Okay, I spend too much of time in research is something I always say even now. So I'm not saying research is not important. It is very critical to be on top of not just the current affairs but mutual fund performance, so that you give the good recommendations to customers and so on. But at the end of the day, mutual funds have two tiers, right? So there is a fund manager who is doing the stock-based research and they are doing the buy and sell. We are doing it more on a holistic mutual fund basis, right? So and it's not like the NAVs are going to drastically change on a daily basis. We ourselves recommend the investors to have a portfolio review once every 3 months or 6 months. So spending so much of time tracking every single fund on a daily basis is something I used to do, but I realized over a period of time that's not adding value at all. And second thing I would say is for customers who are investing money, not just in mutual funds, anywhere, money is very emotional, right? So I never got to know that in the initial stages because I didn't have a huge earning and I didn't have a lot of goals I was investing for. I didn't have financial dependence and so forth. But I very quickly realized when customers are investing money, for them it means a lot. It's very dear to them, right? So if we just tell them, hey, look, this is going to give you this much returns, invest here, invest there, that is probably not the best way to approach. Understanding the customer in a very in-depth manner is very critical to be able to provide the good recommendations also. So it's not just from a relationship building, okay, I can maybe build better trust and ask him to invest more money. That is not the primary reason. The trust will also develop, but for you to actually give good recommendations to the customer, you will have to understand the customer very well. And that means a lot of conversations and, it's not about sending a risk profile questionnaire. Can you just tick the answers and give off sorts? So now, in certain cases, I remember during these conversations, somewhere customer would have started off by saying, I'm very aggressive, I would like to make the most money. In a 10-minute conversation, suddenly one sentence will come, actually, I don't like my money going negative. So you need to catch on to that because that is what defines a customer's actual risk profile, not what he has ticked on the paper. And each and every customer is different. And it's important for the MFD to be able to have these conversations and also latch on to particular points that can help you understand what is really good for the customer. And customer might not even want to accept this, right? No one will come and say, I'm scared about markets falling. Everyone wishes to say that, okay, I know everything. So it's a very nuanced feeling. So apart from spending too much time on research, which I feel is not something it's ideal for an MFD's career, there should be good amount of time spent, not too much time. There should be a lot more time spent in having meaningful trust building, understanding conversations with end customers. So these are the top two things that come to mind for me.
Appreciate that, Vishranth. In fact, that brings me to another question, and that is for you, Awanish. Now, a lot of talk is happening around AI, how AI can be used in personal finance. So, what is your perspective on this? And would also like to understand how do you look at the role of AI in overall personal finance space, and also what do you think it is going to play a role for Asset Plus?
Wonderful. So I do spend a lot of time with AI. In fact, on the tech side of things, we are doing a lot of AI stuff internally also. And so all that experience plus our experience of building Asset Plus, I think I have arrived at a kind of a point of view which might resonate with a lot of people. So in the beginning, as I mentioned, the problem, it's not a tech problem, mutual fund investing, right? It's not like there are lack of platforms and if someone builds, everyone is just going to flock in and start investing. What is lacking is the hand holding and the guidance. Now with AI also, that's not going to change. Like the end customers want someone who can, like, push them, who can motivate them, who can handhold them, who they can call when something goes wrong, right? So they want that support, they want that convenience. Now instead of looking at technology to remove that experience, right, what we have done with Asset Plus earlier was to bring technology to supplement that experience, right? To give better tools to the MFD, to give better, laid back experience to the end investor, right? And that way it's a win-win-win for everybody, right? Customer gets MFD who they can rely on, who they can call, etc. And I think that neatly extends to AI as well, because earlier with the kind of technology we had, if we could do X, now we can probably do 3x 4x for the MFD, right? So the interactions with customers are going to be same, but they might be much more informative conversations, because AI can do a lot more prep work. AI can monitor things more granularly, more closely, more frequently, etc. And it just makes the MFD a super MFD, right? So that's where I see how AI is going to play a role. And I think even regulation wise, it's going to be, I think I read some regulations also recently that are in the works, where even the regulators want people to be kind of held accountable for the recommendations that an AI is giving. And I think that's very important, right? Because the goal is not to just put AI in front of end customers, but the goal is to give them the good service while leveraging AI. So the responsibility still lies with the person who is doing that. So I think this is all going in the right direction, I feel. Although in the wider industry, a lot of things, negatives are also there, which we should be concerned about heavily, right? With AI, a lot of new kinds of scams are starting, voice cloning, fake faces and stuff like that, and bad recommendations, bad investments, a lot of those things. So I think the alertness levels need to increase much higher. So that's something to be just aware of. And I feel it's very easy now to appear like a very well established, trustable brand by using AI tools to kind of establish a lot of things. So that's a warning. But other than that, I think it's in the right direction. And I think with this, we'll be able to have much more MFDs in the country, who will be serving many more households in the country in a much shorter time span.
So I also have one very interesting perspective, hopefully interesting perspective. So when it comes to these advisor and client relationship, right? So returns is paramount. Everyone is investing to make money at the end of the day. Trust is equally important, right? And as many unfortunate scams, or maybe as many areas where people can get cheated or scammed sprout outside the ecosystem, the more trust develops between the advisor and the client. Like, say, for example, today, if there are 10 different ways someone can get scammed, then this person is going to be, okay, outside is very, I'll have to be very alert to whatever I do outside. I'm only going to trust this person. The more and more chances of, the person getting fooled if he ventures outside, the more and more chance of that person saying, okay, I just need one person who I can completely trust and believe of sorts. So I feel with so many, AI is enabling much more spread of information. We've not been in a position of no information to the client, and now AI is solving that problem. We were already in a position of overloaded information for the customer in equity markets, and now AI is largely going to accelerate that even further. So where is that source of information that I really can trust and take action on is something that customers will be keen to explore. And I feel if MFD is able to play that role and say, hey, look, among all the noise, here is one advice or some set of guidelines that I can set for you, which you can completely trust. It can further solidify the customer and advisor relationship than it was before also. So it was a different way to see it. But,
Actually, that's
I feel it
very
will help.
interesting, because in fact, more and more you can't believe what you are seeing online, and you want to reach out to
I think
somebody
you
who
told
you
it in a
can.
much more succinct way than I did. But yeah, I think less belief online and more belief on a
You're a
person
business
telling
guy,
me.
so we get
or
it.
So yeah, and that's a very interesting point. I think, and that will define a lot of things that we do in our life in the future. I think we'll want to interact a lot more with real humans because of the trust factor. Yeah, very
So
interesting.
this
point.
happened in my own case. I was making some taxation calculations. So I asked one of the AI tools, okay, this is the pre-tax income. What should be the post-tax? and it said, okay, 25% something tax will be applicable average, and then this is how much you'll have to pay. But then I noticed in the working, it had assumed LTCG of 10. Now it is 12 and a half. So I said, but it is 12 and a half. So it's like, okay, sorry, now it's 12 and a half and give a different number. So I'm like, okay, in my mind now as a client, I cannot trust this anymore. So it now there's all the more reason why I'm going to double check with my CA and not try to do it myself. So I'm expecting a lot more such instances will come. Unless and until it's 100% accurate, the trust levels on online will keep decreasing further is what I feel.
No, you are very nice to AI. Income tax department is not going to be that nice.
That's right. Yeah, I cannot tell the income tax department, can you please give the penalty to the AI tool? But yeah.
So you have to tell me one thing where both of you disagree.
Disagree. I would say, although we are founders, we've been friends and we know each other very well. Fundamentally, I believe Awanish and I are different types of people. Awanish is much more. Awanish is much more, say, structured when it comes to like methodical of sorts, and I do not like structure and being methodical at all. So a lot of big time decisions, I'm more of a gut feeling. Let's figure it on the way of sorts, and there's a problem, we'll take care of it then. So, so a lot of big decisions, big picture decisions for AssetPlus also. I can recall instances where I was like, it's okay, I will just see how it goes and we'll fight it out then. And Awanish brings no, let's plan it now. In many cases, it does seem like, okay, the planning was unnecessary. In many cases, like, okay, if we hadn't planned, we would have gotten hit quite badly of sorts. So, but whenever those disagreements have come, it has been a very healthy argument between us, and that usually comes to some form of a conclusion, and it's not something that needs to be taken personally. So that has thankfully never been a problem.
And that's very important, right? Because who else is going to disagree, right? So the fact that there are disagreements is a lot of learning for us also, and disagreement should be there. That's how you come up with new learning, new decisions, new stuff like that. So there are a lot of these small things where we have to debate a bit more before we take the next step. So it's pretty important to have that.
So Avnish, what is your worst money habit?
I wouldn't say worst money habit, but definitely something that I'm starting to realize now is being too logical about money and not keeping emotions also in mind, right? So, logically on Excel sheet, you can always prove that A is better than B, but that's not the only thing that matters, right? You have family, they have their own aspirations. Sometimes you should spend money even if it does not make logical sense. So I think that is something that I'm getting over now. I'm understanding the reason that people earn money for is to have a good life. So you should not shy away from those kinds of decisions. So now I'm becoming much more open to that. So things are getting better. But it took me a lot of time to realize that I was in that kind of a habit.
In my case, mine I would say is a little sillier than what Awanish mentioned. So I keep talking about long term. I can talk to customers, have hour-long conversations on why you should focus on the long term, don't care about short-term fluctuations. I have these conversations with MFDs also and the team. But I have this personal problem that for my investments, I have to check my NAV every day. So thankfully, I know enough to not have to take an action based on what the movement has been, but I just cannot not check the NAV. Not just NAV, the status of investments overall. So there's one incident which was very unfortunate for me. So about a year and a half back, I hardly invest in stocks. As of today, I do not have any stock portfolio at all. But after a long time, I have been tracking this one company. I felt, okay, it has gotten beaten down too much and we have to purchase now. There's a really, really good chance of making money. So at that time, the share price were around 400, 420 or so. Not only did I buy, I in fact convinced one of my friends also to buy. So to that share price. But what happened after the purchase, for mutual funds itself, I tracked the NAV frequently. I was opening the app 5 to 6 times during the trading hours every day. So, unfortunately for me, 10 days, I could not just keep looking at it. It got into my brain. Some news came that Iraq war is happening, Iran-Iraq war, something a year and a half back, and I instantly said, I'm happy with the 2% profits, and I sold it off. Then I realized, okay, fine, stocks are not meant for me. And as much as I would like to not track, I'm not able to still have that level of confidence. But and recently, one of my friends told that 400 rupees that we purchased, that is at 1,500 rupees now. And he's like, you told me, so I trusted you. I didn't even look at the stock again. So I made 2% returns. He's sitting on some 300% returns on it. So it was tracking investments is a big challenge.
Just to clarify, I'm not that friend. Some other friend.
Yeah, so Avnish, is that some kind of a feature idea that we don't let people track their investments?
Actually, that question does come from time to time, right? Like we are building an app, but the people who make the most amount of money are people who don't track their investments. There could be something. Yeah.
It should be something we should consider in the future. For sure.
So with this, we are towards the last question of our episode. What is your vision for AssetPlus?
Okay, so I'll maybe give a broader vision. So it's been almost a little more than 9 years since we have started, right? So immense amount of learnings. How are we helping clients? How are we helping MFDs? Where is the industry growing? So all this, if I had to cut short and tell, it has become extremely clear that mutual funds are today and will continue to be among the best forms of wealth creation for the end customer. That's really, really clear, number one. And number two, in India, a large part of the population will require guidance from a trusted professional to be able to create wealth over long term. Although it might look like, okay, mutual funds, there are maybe like just 5 or 10 that perform and let me just look at some star rating and invest. There's a lot more that actually goes into the customer's minds to actually make that investment, stay invested, make the changes as they stay invested and create wealth over long term. So two very, very clear, high conviction bets for us. Number one, mutual funds is super critical for the customer to create wealth, and relying on a trusted advisor to enable that wealth creation is important for a significant part of Indian population. So both of these together, I feel AssetPlus is in a very good spot, because these are precisely the 2 points that we've always been wanting to propagate as well. So today, I believe AssetPlus is one of the best available platforms and tools for MFDs to grow their business and to service the customer in such a manner that there's a lot of value add to the customer and the customer makes very good money too. So the engine is very strongly built, and the industry also, which largely 3-4 years before was kind of questioning, okay, why are regular funds required? Can everything not be DIY? Is starting to understand, if human professionals are not there, what can happen? A lot of people make mistakes, they lose their life savings. There's a lot of unnecessary glitz that happens around investments that's not required. So I feel at this point everything has converged. Everyone is starting to realize this is the way forward. And AssetPlus is not starting to build. We are already there in the front line. We are kind of leading the revolution. So I feel over the next couple of decades, there's an immense opportunity for us to become one of the largest financial services organizations that is leading this revolution of mutual fund investing in India. And that's what we will aim to be.
So at the company, we have this vision statement only, as it described, to build India's best assisted wealth management platform. Right. So I think every word in that captures all the essence of whatever we are discussing. And the mission, the larger mission that we have overall is there are 100 million households in India, which are in a financial status where they can make use of products like mutual funds to make investments and to meet their financial goals. And we very strongly believe that reaching those 100 million households can only be done by MFDs, right? MFDs in all the localities and all the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, those are the people who are going to make it happen. And what we are building is the platform where all that can happen, that enables all of it. So that's our larger mission, to build the platform which is able to one day serve 100 million households and their MFDs.
That's wonderful to know, Vishranth and Awanish. And with this, we are reaching towards the last section of our episode, which is called Rapid Fire. So, Vishranth, are you ready?
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
I hope not.
Wasn't that the agenda, to not be ready?
That's what I'm saying. I hope not.
So my question is over, Awanish.
All right. So, Vishranth, coffee or chai?
Coffee.
Awanish, speak first or think first?
Think first.
What about him?
Please speak first.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl, for sure.
I thought you'll say both.
Oh, no. I'm proper night owl kind of person.
Planner or on the go?
Planner.
Books or movies?
Movies. Yeah.
Work from the beach, work from the mountains, or don't work?
Don't work. If I'm going to a beach or a mountain, I prefer not working.
So, Vishranth, be the funniest person in the room or the smartest?
Definitely the smartest.
So shall I leave the room?
So Awanish, if you were in a time machine and you have a choice to either go back in past or go to future, which year will you go to and where?
I think I'll go to the past because future, I'm sure some way people will figure out a way for us to not die and see the future. Past, I'll go. I think, maybe 12,000 years ago when humanity started. Not at all relevant to this conversation, but yeah.
Maybe you'll start the agriculture revolution. All right, Vishranth, texting or calling?
Calling. Sure.
But that's not happens in the late night message you send to all of us.
That's only because I can't call at night at 12 in the night.
All right. Dogs or cats?
Neither.
Okay. What about you, Vishranth? Dogs or cats?
I'm a cat person.
Huh? Really?
He has a cat.
So, Avnish, work from home or work from office?
Work from office
Okay.
because my employees are watching. ये वाला cut कर देंगे please.
Or you are watching the employees. What if WhatsApp disappeared for a day?
I think everyone will be happier. But,
Will you be?
yeah, in fact, coincidentally, I did delete WhatsApp for a couple of days just last week, and it gave a lot more peace of mind than I expected. So,
All right. Now the final one, and this is for both of you. So describe AssetPlus in one word.
Tech.
trust.
Oh, tech and trust. Wonderful. So with this, we come to the end of this episode. Really appreciate both of you being here. And this was a fantastic interaction. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Ashish. Would like to add that this is a pretty good initiative because I've always felt that MFDs do a lot of work behind the scenes, and people hardly know what it takes to be an MFD and what goes on, in the day-to-day life of an MFD. What are the difficulties and so on. So it looks like some information that should go out. So a great initiative by the team on this.
And I'm eagerly looking forward to all the MFDs that will feature during the series. And I think this is just the first episode, so I think for the viewers, there are a lot more MFDs that will be coming on board. And all the best to you as well.
Thank you very much.